So how do you think you're going to fare?
I don't know. I know I've got a crossover, and the other thing I feel myself sometimes doing is, particularly on this arm, almost like pushing down when I breathe. The guy picked me up on that before, and particularly when I get tired, I feel myself
pushing down as Carol.
Yeah, almost when I'm at the end of the stroke, in particular ready for breathing, I'll feel myself sort of push to get my head up because I'm sort of short of breath. So I feel myself doing that. But it'd be interesting to see if it shows. But I'm interested to see this crossover that Carol's doing.
Again, just the above water shot, and again it looks like a reasonably good swimmer that we got. Legs not quite as high as Carol, but then you almost wouldn't expect that because men generally not as buoyant as women. So men generally have a lower legs, or a lower back end. How do you find open water swimming compared to pool swimming?
I quite enjoy it actually. The thing I do find is that I don't do bilateral breathing. I find that harder just because there's more chop and I seem to sort of waste my breath more. But I'm fairly quick in open water, so I tend to just swim one side in terms of breathing one side. That seems to work well.
Well, yeah, I mean, having kind of lectured, if you like, on that symmetrical and bilateral breathing, then if you can do that, then ideally in the pool you don't do that all the time. In open water, it's obviously going to be different. If you're swimming and there's waves coming from your left hand side, then the last thing you want to do is keep turning and getting out of the water. So more often than not, if you're swimming in open water, and if you're swimming slightly harder, then you're going to want more oxygen. So that kind of situation, you're probably going to want to breathe unilaterally to left or right. But having said that, if you learn in the pool to do bilateral breathing, then you're comfortable with breathing to left and right. So if in an open water situation is that you have to breathe to your left, then you can do it. Or vice versa. So it's good from an overall body symmetry point of view and balance, but if you can do it as well, then it just helps out in that kind of situation. You've got quite a high. Are you aware of that?
Yeah, it's something I played with actually. It's interesting. Someone mentioned it, and so I started doing it, and I noticed by sort of looking up a bit more, I get more of the bow wave you were talking about. I find it a lot easier to breathe. So it's just something I've been toying with a little bit.
And there's no right or wrong in terms of whether your head should be down. I mean, total immersion. They are quite strong advocates of looking down and pushing the other body down, which is good in some respects, but I think it's led some people to do that to extremes and they almost push themselves down. I've seen videos of a woman who went on total immersion course and she ended up swimming like that because her head and chest she was literally pushing them down. So they were submerged. So her body position, instead of being that way, it was that way. And she was kind of diving down and then swimming, then coming back up for air. So I think there's no right and wrong. It's more where it feels comfortable. So if you're comfortable with your head up there, and that's fine, and it's not detrimental to what you're doing. But you're both very similar in that respect, and it might be because you do lots of open water swimming that you almost prepared for that looking forward. I don't know if you, when you are swimming, when you look, but are you aware of all this trail of bubbles?
Yeah, I am. I was going to ask about that. What's that?
Well, if we watch the next, because what you've got there, you've got all of the, you've gone fairly flat into the water, so it's not so much fingers first and then entry. You've gone fairly flat, which has then created all that turbulence and is dragging air down. And then as you go through, you start, similar to Carol, you're quite straight in terms of pulling, and so you're pulling all that air and turbulence that you just created, you're just dragging it down with you. So you could almost think of it, if you like, as, and if your head's both of you, if your head position is quite high, which it is, you can almost watch that and see what's happening with your hands, and almost look at it as being trying to minimise the amount of bubbles, which is therefore lessening the resistance.
Looks pretty though.
Or the trail of bubbles. It's quite, left hand is much worse than right in terms of,
Yeah.
I think what your right hand, your left hand is quite twisted as well, so it seems to be grabbing much more air. Are you aware of breathing under the water or exhaling?
Yeah, I try to. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's something I've been focusing on.
You can see there, your hand has gone into the water, but you've kind of got that. You've gone in with the hand first, and it's almost gone in there, but your forearm has then slapped on the water, which is creating this lot here. And you've almost got that really dropped, similar to Carol, in terms of that, you've got that really dropped elbow, but you're starting to catch.
Right.
So you've gone in the water there, and then you've gone straight down there.
Right.
So it's dropped down, and again I think what you're doing is starting to pull straight down rather than pull and catch the water properly. There your head's quite down there, it's like chin on the chest. You're quite lean as well. I was surprised your body is quite high in water. So you're not as sinky at the back end as I thought you might be. Is that the one you thought it might be?
Yeah.
Is that as bad as you thought it might be? Or?
Yeah, it's a bit worse.
Yeah.
It's right over, isn't it?
Yeah. So if you ignore the lane road because of the distortion on the lens, if you use the white line as a straight line as a reference, if you look at an axis through your body, then as we did before, ideally that hand would be there. So you've not only gone towards the centre, but you've actually gone right away over the centre. If you look at that and then see what happens down at the back end as well. And if you see, you're almost kind of banana shape.
Yeah.
So as each stroke goes in, where if I just draw that centre line again, it's difficult to draw a centre line now, but there's a straight line. That really ought to be where your body is. So that line there ought to be your spine with your head at the top here, and then that hand there. I think what's happening is that as you're going in, you're going across that way, so it's causing your hips are kind of an axis, if you like.
Yeah.
So if I was horizontal, you're going in and you're doing that.
Yeah.
So you're almost pulling your body across one way by reaching across that centre line, pulling through, and then the opposite way.
Right.
In open water, how do you find yourself going in a straight line?
No. I think go off. If I'm breathing this side, I head off that way.
Yeah.
In fact, I was racing Ian and a bunch of them the other week, and I set off and I was way ahead, and then when I looked up, because I didn't look up very much, they were way over there, so I lost.
I think so,
basically.
yeah.
So they were going the right direction. But
Yeah, exactly. I thought they were right.
So you were winning, but you're actually behind.
Yeah,
so
I
the-
did swim twice as far, basically.
Yeah. Well, they did. Paul, there's a Busselton swim in Perth, Australia, where they do. There's an Ironman there as well.
Right.
It's basically just kind of a rectangle course, and they had one of his swimmers with a hat on and got a little GPS transponder in on top of his thing, and he monitored him, and it was a 1.9k swim course,
Right.
and he swam 430 metres more. So
Right, okay.
because he was like start there, turn there, turn there, turn there, and he was zigzagging the whole way up. So 430 metres is more than you need to swim.
Yeah.
That's quite a way in.
Yes, yeah.
And that's probably reasonably average for most people.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not just it shows somebody who's not very good.
Yeah.
It's somebody who's reasonable.
Yeah.
And things like that are the causes of
Yeah.
going off course, because your swim stroke is not symmetrical. As you can see there, you're almost pulling yourself one way, and then the next stroke pull yourself back.
Yeah.
You will always have one stronger than the other one,
Mm.
so the general trend will be right or left, whichever it is.
Yeah.
But either way, you're zigzagging. Do you, when you say you're aware of that hand entry, because you can see that, you can see your spine, how curved it is there. When you look at Mr. Smooth, when you do the hand entry, or you think about the hand entry, what do you think about to try to?
I don't think I do actually. I'm conscious of sort of trying to do. It's something the guy was talking about on holiday, almost doing this sort of back action. But what I do find is I sort of throw it in instead.
Yeah, I'm just wondering whether maybe what I'm trying to do is that there isn't a good view to look at this, but what I'm trying to do is to show you where, if you look at this, hand entry is directly in front of the shoulders every time. But you can also see that his body is symmetrical. So if there's a line drawn through his head, through his neck, right the way down his spine, it's not moving. But on yours, you can see that kind of banana shape as you over rotate one way. So you're dragging yourself around like a banana through each stroke.
Because I'm trying to really try hard and reach with the stroke. I think
you're trying to work too hard, aren't you?
And that's what it is.
Do you find it gets, because at the end of this I asked you how that was in terms of intensity, and you said about 80%. Yeah. So do you find that the harder you work, the worse that might be? Do you think?
Probably. I know if I swim fast, my stroke's not particularly attractive. I think. I mean, sometimes when I just sort of think I'll just take it easy, and it seems to go like quick and smooth and it's easy.
Yeah,
exactly. So.
Yeah. And that's the whole point really of all of this, is that if you get the technique right, then it will feel much easier to be swimming just as fast.
Yeah.
Because you're actually being more effective in grabbing and pushing yourself through water.
Yeah.
Two things: as you get tired, and as you try harder, you tend to use more brute strength rather than technique.
Yeah.
So the technique goes out the window, you become less efficient, you work harder, and so your whole stroke will just deteriorate.
Yeah.
And if you get into a situation like that where you feel you're getting tired, and you want to try and maintain a pace, rather than try to go harder, just try and relax and think about what you should be doing, and think about where your hand should be going and things.
Yeah.
And you should find that much easier, but probably no different in terms of speed.
Right.
Because if you think about what you're doing there, your hand is going in the water there. The first part of the stroke, as your hand goes in there, the first part of the stroke is going to be there, pushing water that way.
Yeah.
Whereas you want to be swimming that way, you're actually pushing water that way.
Yeah.
So you're tending to push yourself out off course, as it were.
Yeah.
So you're wasting lots of energy in moving water in the direction that you don't want to go in.
Yeah.
Then there, you started then to correct it, and you swept back out, and then it's now starting to push down, but more in a backward position. So if you... That's not terrible, is it? But if you do find yourself tired, I mean that's why I asked that question at the end of that, because you look like you're working quite hard. And if you feel tired, or if you feel like you want to go harder or faster, try not to work harder or faster, but try and be more technical about it.
Right.
And I always say, with ones like this, I got 2 kids and we took them to swimming to learn how to swim and things like most parents do. And I used to race them when they were younger and things. And I stopped racing my daughter when she was about 9, because I couldn't win it. But she, at that age, she was obviously no stronger than I was, not nowhere near as strong as I was. But I was trying to use that strength to compete with her. She got the technique and I've got the strength, but she wouldn't.
Yeah.
So putting more force and effort into it is not going to work. That's why we said downstairs, you get fitter and faster to a certain degree, but once you're there and your technique is then stopping you, you won't get any further. Does that, same question as Carol then, does that look like it feels? Or feel like it looks?
No, it doesn't. it sort of looks worse than it feels, I would say, like more pronounced.
Mm.
But it's interesting seeing that whole sort of curve thing, because I think what I've been trying to say to myself is about really reaching and getting as much water as you can, making yourself long. And I think what it's turned into is this kind of
It's like we were saying before about people doing things like that. It's you're thinking about it and turning to overreach
rather than concentrating on the the actual pull. Because
Yeah.
the other thing, probably the single most effective exercise for me, and I notice I just fly along and it's easy. It's a sort of almost, there's one where it talks about pulling yourself along like on a rope or something. I notice if I visualise that, I'll just fly along. It's really easy for me.
Yeah.
So I think I stop trying to reach and concentrate more on pulling, and that makes a massive difference.
Well, I think we'll go on to the head-on shot first, because I think we're going to see a similar thing to Carol in terms of the straight arm and not getting that catch position. So you can see, well, you can't see your arm because you've got all those bubbles that you're dragging down. But you can see there again that is quite straight.
Yeah.
So you've been effective in pushing water downwards, but not very effective in pushing it backwards, and therefore pushing you forwards.
Right.
And that's similar to Carol's in some respects. That one is getting there better, but still not that effective. So you with the right hand you're catching, but it's quite late and pushing back. With your left hand, it's not really doing a lot in terms of, because that really is still at that stage. It's still quite a long straight arm. Do you have any problems with shoulders?
Not really. Getting pain now and again. Nothing significant.
You can see there that one's gone right with the cross.
Oh yeah, that's your other arm.
That's your head there.
Yeah.
So if we that's your head there, your chest there, that left arm going down, but that is your right hand. Right arm and right hand have gone in.
Over your left side.
Yeah, so and it's still going out that way as you goes in. Which is exactly what you said really, is that it's causing that bend in your spine. You are really reaching over to one side. If you look at, I know we've just seen it, but if you look at Shelley Taylor Smith again, because she's, in terms of doing what you both need to do, she's really good at it. And in getting that, you can almost put a mirror there, and it's completely symmetrical, doing exactly the same both sides. And her head is completely still until she turns to breathe. But if you look at that position, she's getting into that position really almost straight away as soon as the hand goes in the water. So that's what we're looking for. Compared to, so you have got a little bit of a catch, but it's really quite late in the stroke. So what's in with Shelley is that it goes, if you do them both at the same time, goes in and then goes in there and then comes through to there and then pushes down. What we've got with you is that your left hand is quite straight, so it's going down there. And it's probably pushing quite straight throughout the whole stroke. Your right hand is going in, and it's coming through fairly straight, and then it gets to there, and that's probably about the maximum you get there, and then push it away. So you're actually losing quite a lot of grip on the water to push away. Donkey paddle again.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Slightly smoother hand entry would help as well, because that's, you tend to not glide too much, but it's tending to go in and then create all that splashing and dragging the air down. Look at So this was the last length, and this, the whole point of doing this one was to look at how you are exhaling.
Right.
So if you watch this stroke right the way through. So we start there. Do you breathe out through your nose and mouth, or both? I'm not aware.
Bit of both, I think. Sometimes.
So there's a little bit coming out there, but I think that was more kind of residual in your nose rather than exhaling. And again, you've gone right the way through. It's almost right at the end that you're trying to expel all the air before you just turn to take your breath back in. And if you think about it, your front end, you both got good body positions. Your front end is the most buoyant part of your body because it's got all the internal organs. And on top of that, you've got 2 lungs as well. What you're actually doing is that you can almost see it, that your chest is quite expanded all the time you swim. What you're doing, you get a lungful or 2 lungs full of air, and you're holding on to it until the last minute when you know that you're going to turn to take a breath, so you try and get rid of it. But you can't get rid of all of that, you're probably just doing that little bit all the time. So you're accumulating carbon dioxide, and that will ultimately fatigue you as well. So when we go back downstairs, one of the first things we'll do for both of you, I think, is to look at, or trying to get you to swim nice and slowly, nice and relaxed. Not thinking about what you're doing with your arms or anything else, but just really, just slowly exhaling, just to get used to that feeling. Because if you get the breathing right, then everything else will start to feel a lot more comfortable, and you can spend time thinking about things. And you can see your chest is still quite expanded. At that pace, that intensity that you're doing those first 4 lengths, how long do you think you could have carried on for that level?
That would have probably been I don't know, maybe a good 400 time, I would think, something like that. I'd been knackered at the end of it though. Yeah. That would have been about 20 lengths, wouldn't it, I think?
In here it would have been 20 lengths, yeah.
So yeah, I've been tired at the end of it.
And you can see again, it's quite straight and all that turbulence round. So if you can be smoother in terms of hand entry, you can see the dropped elbow there, and create less drag by catching the water rather than pushing water down, then again you'll be much more effective. I mean, you are very similar in terms of styles, and I think how you what you need to do to try and correct it. I think. Have you, having looked at the swim school website, have you looked at these different swim types and had a look at them?
At this one, I think.
Yeah. Well, if we just quickly go through them, the Arnie is somebody who's generally quite, it's male and female, but predominantly male. But somebody who's generally quite good as an athlete in other respects, and is quite strong, and then tends to use the strength in the water to get themselves through the water. But as a consequence, they almost look like they're fighting the water, and they're working hard. They do lots of big crossovers. The legs are sinking down quite a lot, and they basically struggle throughout the whole thing. Almost the other extreme is Bambino, who's predominantly women, but can be men as well. But they're quite timid, and they almost uncomfortable and not relaxed to in the water. And they almost go through the whole action, but without really doing anything at all, not really, just kind of almost floating through the water and not being very effective. Kicktastic is somebody who may have come from a good swimming background, but does tend to rely on a good, strong leg kick. It might not be that effective, but they think they've got to kick hard to be effective. And they find it quite tiring because kicking quite hard is using big muscles, and they feel tired out straight away. You've got the overglider, who some trade, but not, I wouldn't say anything drastic. That overgliding part and a really long, slow stroke, almost to the point where they do stop and then take a stroke and then stop again. Then you got the swinger, which is like that Shelley Taylor-Smith. I think both of you fit into that category, with a few traits of other ones as well. But I think you both fit into there. And then you got the Mr. Smooth, which is the kind of an ideal, if you like, but probably more repulsive than an open water swimmer. So I think Because what I will do at the end of this, on the DVD, I'll give you, there's a work development sheet
Right.
for the different types.
Okay.
What I'll do, I think, is if I give you that one, and I'll give you that one,
Mhm.
because that's got lots of good drills on there in terms of catching the water as well.
Okay.
Right, cool.
So you can have both of those,
Right.
and then you'd be able to use those. I mean, if you swim as often as you swim, and you're swimming with masters, then the problem that might find is that you probably need to spend time doing these things
Yeah.
rather than doing the.
Yeah.
So, but that's up to you to manage, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fine, because there's always stuff to do, isn't there? So you can
Yeah.
choose in your own head to use it for drills and things.
Well, yeah. So if you get to a point where it's just 400-meter drills or whatever,
Yeah.
Yeah.
then
Oh,
you
it's
do
sort of
you do what you want.
at the front end usually, so you've got, you know, in terms of it's not like we're just trying to keep pace, do you know what I mean?
So everybody else will be following you and doing what you're doing.
So it's not like the job to do is just to try and
Mm.
keep up.
Mm.
It's, you can choose in your own
Yeah.
head. I'll often just think, right,
Mm.
okay, so for this next set, I'm just going to think about breathing or
Yeah.
something. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
lots of opportunities to
Yeah.
do things.
Good. All right. So that was that then.
Good. Yeah,
Yeah, very
interesting.
useful.
Yeah, really useful.
I think